Hello, everyone. Hello,
Hello.
Wyatt.
How are you guys doing out there? Is anybody even watching? I need to.
Not yet, but
I don't
maybe.
have any of the. I don't have the pop-up thingy going on yet. So
Well, I put a heads up out on our Facebook page a little while ago.
that's where I go.
I'll go ahead and
I gotta find it.
post a little message over there again. But how you doing, bud? Getting to be
I am.
close to Christmas.
It is only a few days away, and
I had
this, like your house, this house is going to be a little bit on the packed side.
to wear my my Christmas vacation shirt tonight. Since
And
it's
I thought
almost
it only fitting that I wear my.
Of course, yeah.
Since it technically is the last, probably our last MASKast of the year, and the last. I'm going to wear it proudly. I don't care if it's 2030 until this thing rots off, but I'll wear it.
Well, I hope our connection is not going to screw up because you sounded a little fuzzy on that when you did that. But I guess we'll see how we go tonight with if we got a visitor like Max Headroom joining us.
One sec.
So hope you guys out there in YouTube world that watch us are doing well and have a Merry Christmas. We've got this MASKast, and we did one last week, kind of impromptu. That was fun. Hope you all watch that or listen to that.
Yeah, that was actually great. I can't go into great detail where I work, but basically where I work, I can't carry my phone, and they locked down my internet a little bit, and so I don't get to see a lot of news. I get like Fox News and stuff. I don't get much else other than that. So when I got out of work to get in my car, I turn on my cell phone. That's when I see, hey, we got news about Mask. I'm like, what? 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 And I'm, of course, me being the ever optimist for our movie as I am, I'm always thinking that it's, hey, are we getting our movie somewhere? Come on, let's sell it. So, but it's still awesome news to hear that Mask looks like there's actually some kind of forward motion at Hasbro.
Yeah, that was really cool to hear, and to them officially put out a press release to announce it.
I think our nagging worked. It's usually women that it's usually like our wives that nag, but that really worked it for Hasbro.
Well, it was long awaited, and we still don't know a great deal of detail. So
Yeah, that's the downside. We don't know what they're hinting. If you haven't listened yet, they're hinting at kind of a universe. Kind of we assimilated it to an Avengers like idea that because they really just gave us a peek is really what they did, and that's all they did. So we're kind of still chomping at the bit. I mean, they gave us a tease back in the summer. Now they're giving us another little tease that something's coming down. We're like, just tell us already. Come on.
yeah, I wish it was that easy and that they would do us fans a little lip service and give us a little inside info, or at least give us a heads up when they're going to announce something, so we can share that with the fans as soon as possible. But I keep Hasbro's press release feed in my RSS feed reader on my tablet. So, and I'm usually scrolling through that multiple times a day. And when I see something from them, I stop and pause and read. And that one jumped out at me. And actually, I didn't get it from their feed first. It was from one of the other pop culture websites that I follow, that they put and they, for some reason, they put Channing Tatum in that picture to announce. I can't remember which site it was, like Mashable or Polygon or one of those that I follow. And I was like, well, so you're announcing that G.I. Joe and M.A.S.K and Visionaries and all that are coming together, and you put Channing Tatum in there, which, spoiler alert, died in the second G.I. Joe 2, this G.I. Joe 2 movie.
He's going to revive, and in the new reboot that's going to be better than, well, at least what I hear. I've not watched any of the G.I. Joes, so I'm kind of taking everybody's word for it that the first one was okay, and the rest of them were, well, not even worth the DVD bin at Walmart. So
actually, it was a little. You got that a little backwards. The first one was probably the worst, and then the second one was a decent action movie, but still not the G.I. Joe movie we want.
Okay.
So
sorry, my mistake.
No, but that's okay. But I would have put The Rock. He was Roadblock, and he was the main actor. In the second film, at least the high profile or the main character. And anyway, but it was good news. And for those of you who haven't watched or listened to the podcast version with us and Eric over at boulderhill.net, we hashed it out for
2.5 hours, I think.
It was like an hour and a half. Yeah, it was quite a while. I'm surprised we actually got that much out of it. But you get us three super fans in a room, we're gonna talk your ear off on M.A.S.K and give you our 2 cents. But
that was more like $1.50 there with us.
True, very true. Well, are you ready to start the podcast tonight? We're gonna go over episode, what is it, 41?
It is 41.
Stop motion. And give you our thoughts, our play-by-play as usual. And for those of you watching, you get to watch all of our mistakes as we record, and then cut in all the audio clips and stuff for you on the back end for the podcast people. But
so it actually looks, sounds decent.
Yeah, right. So, yeah, I mean, I'm glad we're getting back into these, and we really need to get back into reviewing more on a regular basis. I know it's always
tough when you have a full-time job and you're both parents, and
yeah,
when life happens.
Yeah, and you're juggling basically.
Juggling with chainsaws that are on fire.
True. Very true. But yeah, we just trying to find an hour and a half or an hour when we can, and
then drink massive amounts of coffee in the morning.
right, because really the only time we have to record is either on the weekends, which I think both of us, for the most part, cherish our time, whether it's actually relaxing or actually trying to get some stuff done around the house, which you've had more going on than me in that category. But
it seems to never stop up here. It's either fortunately the foundation's done. Now it's just the episode of parents and holidays and stuff. So
yeah, so we're usually recording on weeknights late after the kiddies go to bed, and we have a little bit of silence in the house, but sometimes that doesn't work out either.
Now I see your wife run by to get something out of the dryer or something.
There's always something, yeah.
Which is cool.
Sometimes I'll record back in our bedroom if it's early enough in the night, but then I get kids screaming down the hallway, and the good old laundry room is where I have to go.
Yeah.
For now, but
well, when I have guests, it's kind of funny because we did I think it was your first recurrent events podcast over the 80s. I actually did it out in our sunroom because we had so many people here. Well, actually, it wasn't that many people.
Yeah.
But there was no place to do it, and I planned to do it I think the third episode or whatever the following and my wife had a little bit of a heart, and we still had people here.
Yeah.
So she says, "Go in the little spare little tiny bedroom." I'm like, yeah, but you can hear me. Well, after the kid falls asleep, it's okay. I'm like, okay. And I actually wasn't all that loud. So
Yeah. Well, let's get this ball rolling, and I'll
let's
kick
go.
us off here, so we can get moving. And for some reason, my Google Drive wants me to reload the page, so give me a sec. Stop motion. All right, we'll go with the little introduction here and see if you can guess the.
You get some doozies. I'll be honest. There's sometimes you get me. I'm like,
I might
most
get you tonight. I don't know. We'll see.
there's one or two that I'm like, I don't remember that whatsoever in the 80s. Was that even in the 80s?
After 56 episodes, I can't remember what episode it was that I started doing that. It was early on.
Oh, it was like episode 3 or 4. It wasn't much
So
longer
now
after that.
I've got to find like 50 duos, or I don't want to just shout out a couple names. I like to try to get characters that were paired together or whatever. But anyway, we'll see if you can get this one tonight.
Okay.
All right, let's start. Hello, agents, and welcome to MASKast 56 and the beginning of our Season 5 journey to review the Mobile Armored Strike Command animated series. Tonight we will focus on Episode 41, Stop Motion, which will include our play-by-play commentary combined with audio clips from the actual episode. At the dramatic halfway point and at the conclusion of the episode, we'll stop to give you our thoughts and ratings according to our 1 to 5 scale system. After our review, we'll also read back listener reviews and comments along with the results of our poll, which we invite you to participate in prior to each podcast review on our website, agentsofmask.com. You can simply find the MASKast assignment in the right-hand column of the website, or usually in our monthly newsletter, which will lead you to the blog article, so you can vote and leave a comment. For our viewers, you simply can leave a comment during our live Google Hangout recording session, or on the event page, or using the Q&A button in the Hangout. Stop Motion was first broadcast on November 25th, 1985 in the United States, and features Gloria Baker entering the Indianapolis 500 race, but her race is cut short by Venom, who is using an EMP bomb to fund their organization. With the capability of knocking out electronics for miles around, Mayhem attempts to rob a corporation which could jeopardize bank vaults across the USA, with only M.A.S.K standing in their way. So we will get into that tonight. I am one of your hosts, Jason, and my other host, and with me, as always, is my longtime friend and fellow co-host, the Leoric to my Ektar, Wyatt. Any clue who I'm referring to?
If it's Star Wars, that's the only reach I have. I haven't heard those names.
Nope, it's not Star Wars. It's actually characters from the Visionaries, the Knights of Magical Light.
I don't think I've ever watched that, to be honest.
Well, you're not the only one. I actually have watched a couple episodes. They used to be on YouTube, and the Visionaries lasted at just, I think, 13 episodes. So
that's what Hasbro's bringing back. One of the 5.
Right. It's one of the 5 that we talked about earlier. Well, last week on our MASKast chat, and it was a short-lived series. I remember the toys actually more than I remember watching the show as a kid, with that hologram, in their chests that look like a different animal.
I'm gonna have to Google this.
Yeah,
I didn't Google it on our.
Well, it was. I want to say it was done by
Oh, I remember them. I don't
The
remember the show. I remember the toys.
Yeah, it was done by the same people who did GI Joe, and there was a lot of the same voice
Voice actors.
actors. I remember the guy. I think it's Chris Latta that does Cobra Commander and Starscream.
Yeah, I think
Um,
that's it.
he did one of the characters, and I remember. Actually, I think Michael Bell had a character in there. I could
I
be
like
wrong.
Michael Bell. I know Michael Bell is a hit for, well, he played Duke on GI Joe.
Let me
Uh,
see.
I
Actually,
think.
no. I'm sorry. It was Michael McConaughey actually that we met
Oh,
at RetroCon this year. He was the Ektar character. Now that I'm looking it up. Yeah, Chris Latta. He was the main bad guy. Darkstorm and Peter Cullen also voiced a character.
wow.
Sindar. So and looks like McConaughey and McConaughey and Chris Latta also had some of the evil characters as well as they
And
voiced.
Neil Ross, I
Hmm.
I recognize him. Him and William Bell were both Voltron actors, voice actors, and Neil Ross was the voice of Keith. He did a lot of other people like
Ah, okay.
Pidge, but Commander Keith, for Voltron,
Hmm.
whatever
Hmm.
else he says. So yeah, that's pretty cool. They were probably just part of the same. Well, I don't know if they're really the same group, but
Yeah. Oh yeah, Neil Ross. He had several. He was Shipwreck. He was Shipwreck in GI Joe, and did a lot of other series, Centurions, Garfield and Friends. The list goes on.
oh yeah,
So
he's one of those other ones, just like Doug Stone and probably Peter
yeah.
Cullen, who just did like millions of characters, and you don't even he's lost count.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. He was Rambo in the Rambo cartoon series as well.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
Neil
I'm
Ross.
scrolling down the list now.
Yep. I
And
just scrolled down myself, but yeah, that's cool. And Visionaries is one of those that we talked about, and we of course we invite people to listen to the chat, but there were one of those out of that five that were a little more magical, have really didn't, I guess, go together like obviously GI Joe and Mask or have some similarities. So it'll be interesting to see what Hasbro does and if they actually do a team up movie to start, or if they're going to do individual movies first and then do after Marvel and kind of bring them together at some point. So
right.
it should be pretty interesting. But well, speaking of that, let's go ahead and get your mask on, and we will talk a little bit about what's been going on in the realm of Mask. Of course, the multi-universe film project by Hasbro was a big deal when we put that up last week, and I just briefly wanted to thank everyone who helped to share our blog post, and also matttracker.com and boulderhill.net. They were sharing the story as well. But the last I checked the Facebook stats, we got 230 shares off that blog post, and almost 17,000 people were reached on Facebook.
That's
So that's
crazy.
pretty cool. And we had about 3,000 hits on our site on that story. So those are really good numbers for a site dedicated to Mask. Trust me.
Right.
So we just wanted to pass that along and thank everybody for sharing our content. And uh, you know, the more you share, the more people we can bring into the Mask, our Mask universe.
And the more
Uh,
people we can reach at Hasbro.
and exactly. Well, no, it's more of a community thing. We've said that from the beginning, and
Oh
it's
yeah.
all about
Yeah.
sharing. And I always try to share anything that Matt Tracker and Boulder Hill and Mass Comics and some of the other Facebook groups, they got something cool going on. I like to share that on our page as well, and just keep everybody in the loop, so to speak. So I also ran a little follow-up poll. I don't know if you saw this or not, Wyatt, of basically, how should M.A.S.K be introduced to the cinematic world? How should Hasbro bring him in? Should they do a standalone movie first, or should they do a team up with another property like G.I. Joe? And 90% of the voters want a standalone movie first. So I guess they're kind of on our side.
Yeah, that's what we kind of
aspect.
During that chat. That's what we kind of really suggested. Is they do, if they're going to follow Marvel, then they should do the standalones like they did with Iron Man and Spider-Man, and those ones kind of build it up to that universe that they're kind of hinting at least from the news release that they give us.
Right. So I was saw those results, and I had to pass those along. And that site that we use, Opinion Share, is pretty cool, and they're starting to do a lot more things, little quizzes you can do now. So I might try to use that more in our social media and such. And I did a quiz for our overview of episodes 31 to 40, and of course Anna, I think she got 100% on that. It was 10 questions, about one question from each episode, and several other people were like, "Oh, I need to go watch M.A.S.K. I only got like 5, and they weren't too hard. But if you remember the episode or had watched it, you would remember you would have got the questions right, kind of a thing. But so that's fun. What else have you got going on over there? Anything?
No, not really. You got me sidetracked. I'm freaking on my own rabbit trail. I'm like Googling Neil Ross. Man, I mean, I shouldn't be on this side rabbit trail, but man, he even voiced the Dukes.
Oh,
the
yeah.
Cartoon The Dukes back in the day. And
did you see that Alan Oppenheimer is coming to RetroCon next year?
No, I need to follow. Well, I still follow him. I just haven't looked up lately.
Go over and get linked up. They've created an event on their Facebook page for next year's RetroCon, and they post any updates there. And I saw that one go across. I think it was last week that Skeletor was going to be there. So
I'm on their page now. I'm seeing if they show me any. Oh, then there's Ted DiBiase is showing up.
Yeah,
$1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase. Who else?
I wonder if he's going to have the $1 million belt there. Remember his
Yes.
own World Championship belt that was like diamond encrusted and had like a big dollar sign on the front.
Yeah. Oh, I do recognize Alan Oppenheimer. He was he played bit parts pretty much throughout his career. Notably in the '80s, I've seen him probably in all of my favorite shows like Knight Rider or Dukes or Airwolf or something. But I see that he played Skeletor.
Yeah, he did a lot of work for Filmation. I think he was I want to say he was the main bad guy in the Filmation Ghostbusters, whose name escapes me at this point. We just watched the He-Man and She-Ra Christmas special last night. So he was fresh on the mind. Yeah, I still watch it each year. I'm sorry.
I should watch it. I haven't seen that for years.
Oh, speaking of Christmas, I sent you some cool Christmas presents. Do you got them nearby?
I do have them nearby.
Because I've seen it because I bought them on eBay. But since we had been talking about our collections before and what when we did our top 10, of course, I think you had Condor at number 1, and I was like, he hasn't gone out and got one yet. So I got him a couple toys for Christmas this year.
Yeah, I still have my Condor.
Oh, you do? Okay.
I still have it. It's huddled up in my shed, which that's another story by itself.
Well, you could sell that one back to eBay if you want to.
Oh, heck no. I like spares. Oh, look at this. Look at this. I got myself a gator.
Yes, you do.
How the heck? There it is.
And it should be complete.
I have the boat, and I have
You got the roof gun there, I see, and you've got. Do you have the depth charge that goes in the back? The silver depth charge.
Well, I think so. He said, whomever the packer was sent the little
Oh, he sent everything in a
little bag.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is it, right?
Yep. That goes in the back there, and then you hit the back of the of Gator.
Yeah, I got that.
Flip it up in the air.
And then there's little Dusty.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure his head's underneath. Okay. I don't want any decapitated M.A.S.K agents.
What I always liked about Gator is when the boat is inside, there's a little space on the front of Gator that's perfect for his mask, and you can put his mask in like on the hood, and then stuff it back up in there, and it's essentially protected from losing when you're a kid.
Oh, yeah.
So at least wasn't there
like that's probably what it was made for. But I wonder if that wasn't supposed to be like a little engine, like a blower engine, like a race car engine, like you see sometimes that pop through the hood. I wonder if that's not what that was supposed to be.
Yeah.
You would know, collector.
Yeah, well, I got actually some parts to make some add-on little parts to make it screen accurate, I guess you would say.
Yeah.
From that was from DJ. How does he go by? DJ Weapon Force on Facebook. This guy Bjorn. That oh gosh, he's gonna kill me. I want to say he's in Germany, in somewhere in Europe, and he goes to a lot of these shows. A lot of cons, dressed up in character. He's the one that did those awesome. He did an awesome Matt Tracker and his wife, Vanessa, and he did some awesome Photoshop work. And it looks like he's got like Thunderhawk in the background, and his little side business is using one of those online 3D printer type sites, and he's created tons of parts and pieces to make your own like screen accurate vehicles.
Nice.
And he did a little contest last year, I think, and I think it was a suggestion for the next thing to make, and I suggested, you remember on Thunderhawk in the front has this weapon that's it shoots those magnetic things that he's used on Mayhem early on,
like a zillion times. Yeah, sends Switchblade spinning. Yeah,
and I want to say he actually made that, but I found a screenshot of that and sent it to him, and
that's cool.
Declared me the winner and sent me the parts for Gator, and I've never actually put them on the my car or vehicle. But it's like I think there is an engine. I want to say there's some kind of I want to say there's some kind of exhaust or something as well. But he really studies the cartoon and will make screen accurate stuff. He's also made the Boulder Hill table and chairs.
Oh, I think I've seen that. I think I've seen that one.
It's really, really cool. So if you are an over-the-top collector, which I guess I'm probably in that category, I need some space to display everything, though. I hate buying stuff and having to put it in a box and store it somewhere.
I'm the same way. I got so much stuff. I need a whole house to display everything.
Well, everybody go check him out. I believe it's called DJ Weapon Force on Facebook, and see some of his cool stuff. And he's done it for other stuff like He-Man and some of the other franchises as well, I believe. So
yeah, and there's the Condor you were talking about.
Yeah, and there's Condor.
That's cool. It looks like, well, obviously, it looks like mine. Now that I'm looking at it, I think the only thing I'm missing, and I'm sure it's in the same box, I just gotta like dig, is on mine I'm missing the Hocus Pocus mask, and I think I'm missing the windshield.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm sure they're both in there. I've had that box. I've had Condor in that same box probably for at least 20 plus years. And it's traveled with me It's traveled with me for the last 15 years. It's traveled with me out to Idaho from Pennsylvania, and then it traveled from Idaho to New Jersey, and then down to here. So it's traveled. And it's probably been in the same box.
A lot of miles on that Condor.
You could say that. He's just been riding along.
Air miles, ground miles, whatever. Well, cool. Well, I'm glad you got those, and now you got.
I really appreciate it. I'm going to have a whole collection thanks to you.
Well,
I appreciate it. I really do. I like this.
I had to match what you got for me, and we were trying to work out a deal, and he found several. I collect the G.I. Joe Creo playsets and figures, which is like the Hasbro Lego. He found some at an Ollie store and said, "You got these?" I'm like, "No." So I said, "Get every one that you can find. Well, one of each kind, basically." And he shipped them to me for my Christmas present, so I was very grateful. And I haven't put them all together yet. I put them together one or two at a time, and over Thanksgiving, I secured the big one, the Cobra Terrordrome.
Oh wow!
That was originally $90. I got it for $30. It was actually up on eBay for a while for only $15. I missed out on that, but I put that thing together and the other G.I. Joe little platform, and me and the boys had an epic battle over Thanksgiving, so that was fun. But yeah, I had to go out and get you some M.A.S.K stuff. So you're pretty good. You're getting close to completing the first series there.
I am actually.
I was trying to remember what all I had gotten for you before. I know you have a Rhino, right?
I have a Rhino, Thunderhawk, Switchblade, Jackhammer.
You do have a Jackhammer? Okay, I couldn't remember.
Now I have Gator and Condor. Well, 2 Condors. I don't have Piranha yet.
Yep, you need Piranha. You need Boulder Hill.
Well, yeah, but that's kind of a pricey one there. Maybe we can get DJ print one up.
Force, yeah. Well,
that's one thing I do miss. Where I worked last, our contractor had just bought a 3D printer, and I was so pissed off because I'm like, I'm leaving, and I don't even get to play with this. And people are making little stuff. They're finding little drawings and stuff out there, and they're actually just
they're printing
for the heart's content. They're printing out some cylinder puzzle that you can print. That it's literally just like a maze, but it's like an interlocking thing. And by the time if you work it out right, it actually comes apart. But that's the whole point of it.
Right. Yeah, I've never worked with a 3D printer, but they look pretty cool.
Well, we had a guy that was in house there that was a CAD person anyway, so he knew how to draw stuff anyway. So, but I have several friends over there, so if I really need parts for my truck or parts for this stuff, I'm sure I could get one up. So. All
right. Well, I guess we'll call that. Get your mask on for now, and we can get into our review.
Yeah. So let's start the MASKast. Fitting up on a racetrack and seeing the patrons fill in to see the cars, we are quickly taken to Gloria and the Formula race cars. And we pan up to find Bruce and Matt keeping tabs on her and stating that this is her first Indy 500. We next find our beloved duo with Scott working on a circuit for T-Bob. He quips that it is a 3-ring circuit while wishing he had a helmet to cover his ears. I guess he's ultra sensitive to the rumblings of the race cars.
More like everything.
Well, that's true. Upon completion, Scott speculates that T-Bob could now reach 100 miles an hour. T-Bob quickly asks how he's going to stop, to which Scott replies by the use of the drag chute. A quick joke saying, "Shoot, I think this whole race is a drag."
Here we go.
I'm sorry?
Here we go.
That's it. Then he wishes that Scott would just quit tinkering with him, which he would probably actually run right and not be so emotional if he didn't work with him. But
true.
I guess if he is his robot and that's his kind of pride and joy, you always want to upgrade.
Yeah, he should be
So,
used to it. Yeah,
and heck, if you can get a unicycle to go 100 mile an hour, when he was trying to race that one time, it looked like he was only going like 15 anyway.
right, right.
Uh, but at the guard shack, we see the guard's TV get kind of disrupted with what looks like a man, and we kind of see someone come on screen, and then it quickly
Mhm.
moves away. And
He was pretty easily identifiable if
yeah,
you
it looked like
watched the
Sly to
cartoon.
me,
Yeah.
but we'll keep the mystery there. However, we quickly cut to Gloria's car where her gauges are basically dancing around, and then with smoke starting to billow out of her engine, and then all the other cars start having the same issue, and they all spin out of control. Uh, more and more things are smoking and shorting to include T-Bob. As Matt and Bruce are discussing what happened, the gate guard races up yelling that the box office has now been robbed. So,
Yeah, it was a pretty cool opening. It was cool to see Gloria actually in the Indy 500 that they named the race by name.
yeah, yeah,
the quote unquote what do they call it? Anyway, it's one of the pinnacles really of your career would be winning the Indianapolis 500. And what we
yeah.
learned from the announcer was that she was winning at the halfway point. So Gloria's legit with her race car skills.
That's right.
And I liked her reaction too as it malfunctioned. She just was like banging on the steering wheel, upset because I think she even says that she had checked the car herself earlier that morning. So I would be really upset if I was in the middle of the Indy 500 and winning, and something
Right.
like this happened. So
Now here's a small query. I want I think in the next set of toys, well, even the cars, the racing series, doesn't Matt drive a
yes,
Formula car?
yes, yes. Goliath is.
So why
Uh,
doesn't I mean, again, I'm not the guy that wrote up the storyline and everything, but you see, if Gloria could race a freaking Formula car, why did Matt get it?
well, it's
Unless
true.
I know he's the boss. I get that, but seriously, if she can run that car, she should get it, and he could keep the old Thunderhawk running around.
You've hit the nail on the head. That's one of the biggest queries I think of the racing series is that I don't think Gloria's in a single one of those 10 episodes,
No,
and she's the race car driver. So it's just
maybe she bailed out to run Indy 500s.
yeah. I don't know. It could have been. Yeah. I don't think that was written into the story, but that is one of the big mysteries. Why didn't they include her
Right.
in the racing series? But anyway, after all of this happens and the drivers are all getting out of their cars and upset, we start to see the TV cameras begin to smoke as well, and the equipment inside the broadcast control room there. And then we cut over to T-Bob, and he's laying flat on his face, smoke coming out of him, as Scott asks him what's wrong, to which he essentially gets no response. He's just laying down there, and we're all like, yeah, T-Bob is dead.
As annoying as he is, I actually like T-Bob
Well, he has his,
moments.
he has his moments, like I've highlighted in the
A
three and a
recent
half
video.
minute. Yeah. But the announcer, whose mic is somehow still working, tells the crowd that they will continue the race as soon as they learn what has happened. And now we cut back outside, and Matt is checking, I guess, under the hood of Gloria's car or a car nearby in the pits there. Actually, he's outside. And says it looks like everything is short circuited. Bruce agrees, and after examining T-Bob, Scott wonders if T-Bob will know what happened, but Matt says probably no one knows at this point. And just then, the security guard Well, you already went through this, didn't you? Yeah. Well.
Yeah, the security guard races up.
Yeah, and then this is when the security guard emerges from the stadium yelling that the box office was robbed, and Matt tells Scott to stay put as he and Bruce race off.
Right.
Outside, we see Rax and Dagger running towards their vehicles with this strong box. And Dagger trips and spills the cash everywhere as Rax tells him, "Smooth move, Butterfingers. Can't you do anything right?" And Dagger tells him that money slips through his fingers sometimes. As they get in their vehicles and they speed away. Nothing wrong with their vehicles. And Matt and Bruce run toward Thunderhawk and Rhino, but there's smoke billowing, and they're unable to go after them. And then we cut back to the pits, and Gloria is again working on her car as Scott is installing some spare circuits into T-Bob. T-Bob comes back to life and says his circuits ache. And he blames Scott for shorting out his power supply again, but Scott says it was something else that had went wrong. Matt then approaches and says that it was Venom and that they robbed the box office. And Gloria says she owes them one since she was essentially about to win the race.
Right.
And then Matt encourages her, saying the other drivers didn't have a chance, which I thought was a nice little, pat on the back to Gloria, trying to console her after essentially losing the Indianapolis 500.
Yeah, but everybody lost, so it's,
True. And then this kind of happens where, what I had thought before while I was writing my notes is, how is this PA system working? The announcer comes back on and says the race will be postponed to another time and instructs the audience to keep their ticket stubs and check their local newspaper for the rescheduling time. Gloria says she understands since nothing is working. And then Matt realizes, well, hey, the PA system is working, and tells Bruce to go check it out. And he says he's going to go check out the videotape of the race for clues. So, of course, Scott is all excited, as he normally is, to tag along because he's missed watching the race altogether to work on T-Bob. So, I don't know. I mean, he's got some dedication there, I guess, at least to T-Bob.
Oh, yeah.
He's at the race. He's in the pits to cheer on Gloria, and yet he's
tinkering around with T-Bob. I think that he'd be out there cheering on and, getting, I don't know. I guess if I had the opportunity, I'd be sitting there trying to get people's autographs or trying to get the pit crew, something like that, where he just like, oh, spare garage, let's work on T-Bob.
So
maybe I could put some rocket fuel, as old John Kenny's driver used to say.
Yeah. So we head back inside the control room there.
Yeah, we're in the production room with Matt, where Matt comes up empty. So he goes to check on Bruce's findings. As Scott is discussing, Scott is discussing how he wishes he could help his dad see more than just the inside of the race, which is what Matt was really looking at. It dawns on him that the blimp was above, so perhaps they caught video outside the track.
Right. And we saw the blimp a couple times at the beginning of the episode, too.
Yeah.
Really with nothing sinister about it.
No, but something that kind of piqued my interest slightly is, do you notice how long that Scott has been running around with his helmet? Is he pretending that he has a mask on? He's undercover?
I like that. Yeah, I mean, he did have it on pretty good.
Probably only about a minute or two, but he's running around with it on. It's not like he's taking it off or carrying it around or something like that. So pretty cool.
Yeah.
But anyway, so outside the duo don't see the blimp. T-Bob asks how they basically fly, and Scott replies that they are filled with hot air. Sort of like you, T-Bob jokes.
Yeah, I laughed.
That was actually a good one.
Yeah.
And then a man walks up, probably one of the engineers, walks up with a VCR, and Scott asks where the blimp went. The man replies that the blimp wasn't covering the race, but it's possibly hangared a few miles away. So, of course, this piqued their interest, at least Scott's anyway. And the duo race off on the now souped up T-Bob and quickly come upon the hangar, which looks deserted. As they peer in, we hear the Venom theme kick up, with Venom obviously working on the hangar. I'm sorry, the blimp. Rax suggests that they hook up the generator and charge up Dagger's brain, but then states that he'd only blow the fuse. That was actually a good line there.
I
They actually
laughed
had
at
some good
that
ones.
one.
There was a lot of jokes, but there's some good ones in here.
That was the one that was the best of the whole episode. I think it made it worth watching at least.
Yeah. And then Dagger replies that he should keep his mouth from charging.
Yeah.
Upon completely being charged, Miles instructs them to disconnect the cable. And then we pan over to see our duo with T-Bob quaking in fear, which there's another
I
human
rolled my
trait.
eyes. Yeah.
And Scott assures him that he'll be safe there. We see Miles and Vanessa board the blimp with Dagger and Rax getting in their vehicles and racing off for the gold, as Miles puts it.
Yep.
And I want to stop here because, I'm one that likes to key on some certain things, aspects of the animation. And this one, it's actually cool to see the props of the blimp actually start up. You see them go for a few seconds, and then they finally spin up. So it's actually good to see that. It's a lot of cartoons and stuff. Even nowadays, it's automatically just like boom, it's on.
Yeah.
So I liked they took. It was probably just about half a second, but still a half a second to show that they're winding it up and it's going.
Yeah, there was a couple of places in this episode we'll get to as well that they had some really cool shots. Some good animation too.
Yeah. You want to take us on?
Yeah.
Or?
Yeah, I'll take us to the. So as Rax and Dagger drive off, and Ma'am says they're going to go for the gold now. T-Bob says there's a lot of hot air in that blimp. I guess he was referring to Mayhem with that little joke there. As it begins to exit the hangar, and as it does, we see the long cable from the back of the blimp, and it's at the feet of T-Bob, and is beginning to wrap around his feet. And as it comes taut, it drags him out of the hangar. And Scott's running after him. T-Bob's complaining about flying or something. There's this slow motion hand grasp that takes place as Scott is lunging towards T-Bob to grab him, which I don't know, that was kind of unnecessary. But he grabs onto him. He's now hanging on to T-Bob as the blimp ascends up into the air. And high above the ground now, Scott sees a tree approaching, and he essentially walks across the top of this, trying to avoid a collision with this tree. Up inside the blimp, Mayhem relishes in his victory, saying, "Nothing can stop him now." And Vanessa, she kind of scoffs that she'll believe it when she sees it. And Mayhem says, "See it, you shall." So they were going back and forth a lot this episode.
Yeah, they were.
But we were cut back to them dangling below the blimp now. Scott is asking T-Bob to do something about it. T-Bob just complains that the only thing he hates more than going fast is going fast. I think he says tied down or something. Yeah. And then about that time, the cable loosens from T-Bob's ankles, and the duo begin to fall as we cut to the dramatic commercial break. So it was, for me, it was very quick, this episode. I didn't make a whole lot of notes in the first half, but I don't know. I kind of took that as a good thing. What did you think of the first half?
The first half was actually good. It was a very good pace. I kept going. It wasn't drawn out by the duo bad jokes. It wasn't drawn out with, I'll call it fluff.
Yeah, I thought so as well.
Because sometimes we sit there and watch an episode like at the beginning, and we're like, okay, when are you going to get to the good point? You know,
Right.
it's kind of like that. This one was actually pretty good. There were some jokes, but a lot of them were actually pretty decent. They're not enough to really ding, I guess. I liked the cliffhanger though. I liked that here we see Scott and essentially T-Bob plummeting to their death. So that was actually a good suspense there. You don't know what's going to
Yeah,
happen.
it was
Um,
it was dramatic, but watching it now, I'm like, okay, it was pretty easy to determine what was going to happen after the commercial break.
well, yeah. And after watching, well, 41 of them now, you kind of figure out that someone's going to be saved by someone before they actually get killed.
Well, yeah, they
Although I'll be honest, the little jet rocket and T-Bob in Solomon's Gorge was actually a really nice rescue
yeah, well, that
fence
was a
there.
surprise. There are
Yeah,
sometimes some surprises. There are some more telegraphed dramatic elements. Like
yeah.
I kind of felt this one was, uh, being that what they had talked about at the beginning there when they souped up T-Bob. But what else? What else? Do you have anything else?
The only one other thing is I did take note initially because they said that everything's fried except for the PA system.
Mhm.
And of course, now that we've seen the whole episode, we know what it is. But I like the suspenses. Why would a PA system still work
Yeah,
if everything else is frying? So I like that kind of. And at first, I didn't think anything of it. But when Matt keys in that something is working, the
hmm,
PA. So I liked that. There's some kind of link there.
you're right.
You know, obviously we'll see it the later half, but I really liked it. I was right at a 5.
Okay.
I was rating it. That's where I was for this first half.
Yeah, I again, I thought it was flowing very well. The story was pretty good so far, and it was a little, I guess, heavy on the Scott and T Bob, but I thought the suspense and some of the other elements in the episode kind of kept it moving forward. Here we are again with Matt not keeping a leash on those two very well. But we've learned by this point that you give an adventurous kid or somebody with uh, a spirit to explore, you give him a mode of transportation, he's going to take it every time.
And now that mode of transportation has 100-mile an hour.
Right. Uh,
I would have liked to see for comedy. Would have liked to see like him spin out of control trying to figure out how to run
right.
T-Bob at 100-mile an hour.
Yeah. Yeah.
That would have been fun. I realize they can't probably do much with it for the time scrunch that they have, but it would have been
Right.
fun to like see him fall and T-Bob going, "All right, dude, I need I need a bumper car or something, you know?"
But there was one episode where Scott jumps on him and they peel out, and he has his arms like wrapped around T Bob instead of like on the handlebars.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that would have been fun to do there, something like that. But anyway, getting back to the first half, the animation was good. I thought a lot of the action of the race cars was done pretty well. And other than really T Bob's humanistic traits that we always talk about, we're now kind of used to. I didn't think there was enough ticks or bad things to bump me from my 5 down to even a half a point. So I'm still with you. I'm right around a 5.
Good.
So
So after
we
our break, the duo continues to fall with Scott saying, "Pull the ripcord." T-Bob asks, "What's a ripcord?" And Scott replies back to, "Push the red button," with T-Bob saying, "What? This one?" And it's hilarious because Scott like seems like he's actually pissed off now.
yeah,
He says, "Oh, brother," and taps the button with his helmet.
right.
And I actually thought that was pretty good. You know, like, geez, do you get a clue? You're a robot.
Well,
So
I don't know. He was programmed by Scott, so
that's true.
he's not
So
exactly an encyclopedia of knowledge.
no, but as the chute opens, the jerk knocks the helmet out of Scott's hands. Scott squirms around to climb onto T-Bob's back,
Hmm.
and then T-Bob says that the chute is like a chocolate soda. which I've never actually had a chocolate soda. But anyway, it's
Good
good to the last drop, which
right.
should have been Maxwell Coffee's slogan.
Yeah,
But
I said Folgers. I couldn't remember. It was one of those coffees in the 80s that was good to the last drop, whatever.
yeah,
Roll my eyes.
but the duo end up landing right on the helmet, which trips them. So there was the reason why the helmet left them. And under the chute, Scott says that they need to get to his dad, while T-Bob says he can't see anything. Then he adds that he's stuck here. So finally, Scott is saying, "Oh boy," to T-Bob, which is, if you're at that, if you know how to shut up a robot, just push the mute button. You're like,
Yeah,
enough.
power down. Yeah.
Yeah, reboot.
I know you're not a Star Wars fan, but there's a point in, I think it was the very first movie,
Episode 4 or episode 1?
episode 4,
Okay.
that C-3PO's in the cockpit there of the Millennium Falcon with Han Solo and Princess Leia and Chewie, and they're being chased by the Empire. It might have been Empire Strikes Back, and he's just giving them all the odds of survival and all this stuff, and they're like, shut him up or shut him down, and they finally just power the guy off, and
Nice.
we'll take it from here, C-3PO. The T-Bob should have had something like that. You just power him off when he needs to, and just become a motorcycle or something.
Something, yeah.
This is the point too. I wanted to take a minute here. When they float towards the ground and they're floating down towards Scott's helmet, there's that nice reflection shot in his visor of them coming towards the ground. Did you see that?
I did. That was actually very good.
That was really cool.
I appreciate when they get that detail to it.
Yeah, it's just fun, the new angles and stuff that they use, or have been using in the last, I don't know, dozen episodes or so.
So as Scott attempts to pull the helmet off of T-Bob's foot, a gust of wind grabs the chute and sends him dragging along the landscape with him shouting, "Whoa, Nelly!" Scott yells, "Motor scooter mode," which I like. So I guess it must be like a command thing, like you would say, Spectrum on. That must be like the voice command, because he automatically changed. It wasn't like a hesitation or, "Why you want me to be a motor scooter?"
Yeah.
I like that. And of course, T-Bob transforms, gets his balance, and as he's getting his balance, he just, might as well just back to shoot away while I'm at it.
That was pretty impressive, actually.
Yeah.
To be able to stuff that huge parachute that was just dragging you back into your backpack.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive for someone that doesn't know what a freaking drag cord. I mean, the whole episode, even from the garage, he's asking about, how do I stop? So he doesn't even know about a drag chute, but yet now, fast forward, he knows how to pack one up.
Right.
But
who knows?
Yeah, exactly. But after packing the chute up, he actually says, "Thank goodness for the noise and extra speed." Then he's as he turns, he sees Scott. He's not telling Scott that. Or, "I'm not telling Scott that," something like that. And I actually chuckled there.
That was funny. He didn't want to give him credit or whatever.
Yeah.
For adding that extra speed.
So that takes us back to the stadium.
Yeah, we head back to the racetrack. Scott tells him the story. Scott tells Matt the story, and he concludes that the machine on the blimp must work like an EMP. Well, of course, T-Bob wonders if that stands for Emergency Mayhem Paraphernalia, obviously. Matt chuckles, says, "No, electromagnetic pulse." T-Bob says he knows what a pulse is. He's been racing all afternoon. And at this point, I wrote in my notes, I'm rolling my eyes. Can't he just shut up? I need the power off button right here on T-Bob. Anyway, Gloria now chuckles a little bit and says it's not that kind of pulse. Matt says it's like an invisible lightning bolt that knocks out anything electrical. Scott wonders about the PA system, and Matt says it has vacuum tubes, as Scott assumes the blimp and their masks are using them. And Matt says it's our turn to surprise them. Well, now from above, the blimp flies over a city with Vanessa asking Mayhem if they are over the International Safe Corporation, is I think what she says.
Yes.
Mayhem says it better be, with Vanessa not sure after his directions. So these two are bickering the whole time. I'm not sure why. Mayhem starts up the machine and everything begins to shut down again. There's cars wrecking all over the place. And Piranha and Jackhammer drive up through the wreckage of these cars up to this corporation. They jump out of their vehicles and go inside. And Rax uses stiletto to play pin the guard to the building.
Did you notice, though, here that he actually says stiletto on and not stiletto fire?
Yeah, well, we've kind of gone through this before, and I don't know, some of the masks, I don't know if it's just they forget or if there's certain things like Torch, for example. Sometimes you get that flamethrower type of effect where it's just a constant, out of his mask, and then sometimes you get the fireballs. So that would make sense there, where you say torch on, it's the flamethrower, torch fire, it's the little fireballs, or something like that. But I don't know. There's really no consistency with that, as far as I can tell.
No, there's not. And we've had episodes where there's nothing being commanded, and all of a sudden something shows up.
Yeah, shoots out. Yeah, it's worth noting. So after they put the guards there against the wall, Dagger tells them to hang out for a while as they make their way through the vault now, and they get to a large door and argue over who should open it. Well, after Rax decides that Dagger should open it, since he's the strong one, they make their way to one of the smaller, I guess, like safe deposit boxes.
Yeah.
And inside they find this small book or journal that Rax says contains the combinations to all of the bank vaults in America. And they bicker back and forth again. After Rax, he finally hands the book over to Dagger and wonders if he's going to lose it before actually giving it to Mayhem. Well, about this time, we cut back over to M.A.S.K with Thunderhawk and Shark and Rhino driving through the city. We're assuming that they, fixed the problem from Mayhem and the EMP. Each agent receives their masks from overhead inside their vehicles. This was a pretty cool shot here, animation. One of Gloria essentially from the side, I believe. I guess most of them were from the side, except for maybe Matt. That was a pretty cool sequence there. And then Gloria spots the blimp over the Safe Corporation now, and Matt somehow brings Mayhem's plan together. I don't know. It was a little bit of a stretch for me at this point for him to figure out why they're over the Safe Corporation, unless he's got some inside information or something that they keep all of these. They keep all these combinations in a journal, and that was exactly what they were going for, So I don't know. I guess I felt that was a bit of a stretch.
Yeah, it was. I'm the same way. It's kind of a stretch. One, that he knew that was right over this corporation, and two, that they are looking for that book.
Right. It was a bit quick for me, so
it's more like, "Hey, Rax, did you get it? Yeah. Okay, good. We're gonna come after you now."
Right. Well, it's just as easy. Like at the event, it was just a matter of we'll just knock out everything at a bank or at some place where they got some cash and just run in and get the cash. Where this was more of a strategic robbery, and they're not actually going for the money yet. They're just going to get this combination or whatever.
Right.
The book of combinations. But next we see Thunderhawk converting. Now I really like this shot.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if they've used it before.
They have.
This
is a recycled shot, but they actually use a different background.
Right. But I like this where they're outside at an angle. You see the doors come up essentially from the front, and then they zoom in, and then they show Thunderhawk taking off, and it's a really good sequence. And
Right.
some of the other recycled footage of Thunderhawk is just out in the desert somewhere, and they don't bother to put in that background. But
They finally caught. It's like they finally caught on. Oh, hey, they're in a city. Let's probably mimic that.
So that wasn't too bad. It didn't bother me. Vanessa now, she spots M.A.S.K below and is accusing Mayhem of missing with this EMP shot. And Mayhem claims they must have been out of range or something, as he makes some adjustments now on the machine. And below we see now Scott and T-Bob are following behind with the usual objection from T-Bob and Scott's adventurous attitude. Let's see. I'll throw it back over to you. And then, let me get through this little part here, and then I'll kick it back over to you when they come out.
Good, because I saw a question pop up.
Okay. Mayhem is... we cut back to the blimp. Mayhem is not ready. Well, we cut back to the blimp, and Mayhem is now ready for another royal blast of the EMP. And we see T-Bob malfunction again, and he falls over. Thunderhawk, however, circles up above and makes a pass on the blimp, like Maverick in Top Gun, where he's buzzing the tower, and it causes the cockpit of the blimp to shake back and forth there some, and they're a little bit rattled inside. Vanessa is still accusing Mayhem of being a terrible shot, as he uses the EMP again, essentially hoping it works, and Thunderhawk, hoping it works on Thunderhawk because it's almost now out of power. And we see Thunderhawk now makes another pass, shooting its lasers first at the rear of the blimp, and then at the, I guess you would call the fins, that stick out the side of the blimp.
Tail fins,
Tail fins, disabling them. And Mayhem now is... they've gone back and forth this whole episode.
Yeah.
Vanessa, she's on him. He's now on her. Mayhem is now on Vanessa about her flying skills. Well, obviously it's not her flying skills. They're getting dive bombed by Thunderhawk. Really. And Matt finally says he's now ready to take the air out of their tires, and he fires again at the rear of the blimp, making several holes, letting the air escape. And now we see the blimp flying uncontrollably over the city and essentially out of town.
Right. I like the actual sound effect. It was kind of corny, but it was comical.
Yeah,
it was the same, like letting an actual little balloon go.
It was a bit much. It was a bit much.
Yeah, but it was still funny. I kind of liked it.
Yeah. But now we head back to the corporation with Rax and Dagger exiting the building.
Right. Dagger slips and drops the book, with Rax picking up the book and saying he can't take him anywhere. Dagger, using the torch mask, says, "Catch this!" with Gloria combating it with her aura mask. Aura deflects the torch blast back towards Jackhammer, popping one of the tires. Rax throws the book into the sidecar and races off. Even with a flat tire on Jackhammer, we see Dagger just racing away from... with Rhino chasing it.
How's that possible?
Well, I actually witnessed that just the other night. Well, it wasn't a Bronco, but I saw a guy in a BMW. The rear tire was literally off of the rim, right beside me. He had his flashes on. The only thing that my wife and I could think of is there was no actual berm or anything like that for them to actually peel off. But the guy kept going down the highway. I'm like, dude.
Yeah,
it's gonna fall off. You're gonna wreck the rim if it isn't wrecked already. But anyway,
I would have liked to seen
the rubber flop around or something.
Yeah, him bouncing up and down in there or anything to, you're gonna set up the scene by flattening the tire. Actually,
do something with the scene. Yeah,
you're right.
Bruce says, when in doubt, play it safe and engages Rhino's battering ram grill, and knocks a wall. Basically, knocks a hole in the wall of safes over, which ends up trapping Rax.
Yeah, it was like a
And
domino effect almost.
yeah, it was, and me and catching the detail. I like the air brake and diesel sounds that they put into Rhino. Bruce says a combination attack, with Rax angrily saying, "I hate them." He tries to turn around as he sees Shark approach. He races up a loading ramp to jump over Shark, but while in the air, Rax shoots the stiletto darts, with Gloria rebutting with Aura sending the darts at the back tire of Piranha. It pops the tire and ends up deflecting Piranha over a wall, which ejects the book, and not Rax, ironically. Uh, Bruce uses Lifter to seize the book. Even with no tire, again, we see Rax driving away.
Yeah, I mean they took the time to they essentially shredded the back tire
Yeah,
of because it was completely gone, and he just bounces off the ground, bounces over the wall, and keeps on driving. So
I guess that helped him bounce. I don't know.
that bugged me.
M.A.S.K returns the book to the International Safe Corporation. No words are audibly heard, but
Hmm.
we see them shake Matt's hand. Then we are taken to Scott pushing T-Bob up to M.A.S.K. Which one? How did they know where he was anyway? Uh, anyway, Scott states that he missed all the fun since T-Bob conked out again.
Yeah. Well, he was following them.
I guess, but it's been a few miles now. How do you know that they're going to get to the Safe Corporation? Unless he radioed. Well, he couldn't even radio to T-Bob because he was out.
Yeah. Well, that's where he initially flopped over. There was at the Safe Corporation on the second time around, so he was already there, I think. And M.A.S.K coming back, I don't know.
Yeah, it's one of those mysteries.
Yeah.
But Scott asks if they noticed the blimp take off, as Matt thinks of how it must have landed. A couple chuckles and mostly Bruce's. His voice seemed to stand out there.
Uh-huh.
And then we fade off to the next race, which has us Gloria hopping into her Formula Racer. And thanks, Scott, for painting the racing stripes before racing off. And I love this sound effect because it was the exact same effect they used for the General Lee on the Dukes of Hazzard.
Oh, really?
You hear the brrr and the squealing tires.
Uh-huh.
That's all over like the first, well, most of it, but mostly in the season 1 and 2.
Really?
Um, anyway, as Scott begins to ponder, T-Bob already sneaks off with Scott pondering if there's room for fuel injection. And then you see Scott yelling, and we see T-Bob just running,
Yeah.
hauling butt out of there. He's not having any of that. And that leads us off to our PSA.
Yes, and we are taking outside of a house. A fire truck is sitting outside as two firemen approach the truck from the house saying it was a false alarm. Then we get a call over their radio about another 3-alarm fire across town on the nearby sidewalk in their baseball gear. Scott hopes that they make it in time. He says that's why Matt tells him not to play with fire alarms because people in real trouble may need it. So it was, yeah, I mean, it didn't tie into the episode. It was a pretty good message for.
It's a good message. Usually there's some kind of tie-in, at least most of the time. But
Yeah, I'll get into it after we hear what you have to say, but I thought the ending was kind of a letdown in the episode.
it was comical, but it would have been nice to see if Gloria won or something like that.
Right.
It could have been the last couple seconds of her,
Yeah.
racing and winning, and hey, Gloria, and then Scott could have turned around and said, "Hey, I wonder about fuel injection." Wait, T-Bob. Could have been something like that.
Yeah. Anyway, what did you rate the episode?
Well, it took me a while. Still the optimist, I guess. It was a very good plot. I actually liked it, and I liked that even though it was a small suspense out of it, I liked that suspense of figuring out that the PA system um, wasn't interrupted by all these EMPs. And here they had come up with the vacuum tubes was the
Yeah.
reason why it never worked, which is kind of cool because that was a, that's a, I'll call it an archaic type of technology.
Yeah, I was surprised that he didn't share the technology though with Scott to
Do that
put
with
inside
T-Bomb.
T-Bob.
But here's the thing: even in the '80s, I don't even think Radio Shack had any vacuum tubes left in there.
It's true.
So I don't know where they were
Where
getting.
they getting all those parts from?
Well, now TV and radio stations still had a lot of vacuum tubes. Even our old station uh, ran on vacuum tubes. Believe it or not,
Hmm.
I do remember asking that question. I don't know why, but I asked that question. Um, anyway, so I love the diesel sound of Rhino and the air brake sound effects. I thought they were all the jokes and puns, even though there were a lot, they were actually pretty decent. They weren't the ones that were really grating on you, except for kind of the dumb moment with T Bob a couple times where you think he should be muted. But there wasn't it wasn't over the top like sometimes where we're sitting there going, "Oh wow, just stop the episode, just go back to the drawing board and give us something better." You know, it
Yeah.
wasn't to me. It wasn't, I guess, that bad for me. Um, I did ding a little bit of the PSA not being relevant to the story. It was a good message, but it still didn't
Yeah.
tie in. I also didn't like. Um, I gave it a small ding where because there was no voice commands for when the masks came down, and I know that's intermittent with these episodes, but that you start out with it, keep up with it. I
Yeah.
guess.
I agree with that. They have done those sequences before where they've even had split screens of everybody getting their mask.
Exactly.
And
So they've done impressive stuff, but this time I don't know what this is.
it didn't bother me, I guess, too much in this episode.
Um, I know we talked about it, but this, stiletto fire, or stiletto on, not stiletto fire.
Hmm.
I'm used to that. It was more of a tick than a markdown, but still, it was something that stuck out. Um, and then we had no call up. I marked it down for that, even though the experts were all of them were there. I get it, but usually there's some kind of call up,
Yeah.
something that they need the expertise of someone somewhere. They didn't need it obviously because they steered the episode where they wanted it, but it's nice to have that reach back and see.
Well, I see. I don't know. I was kind of torn about that. I think it should be included no matter what because it's just the embodiment of what
Right,
Mask is and what they do.
and that's why I marked it. I was a
Yeah.
little peeved. I know I've kind of beat this into people's brains already, but it's just like the Voltron sequence. Voltron always had a freaking sequence.
Yeah.
Airwolf always had a freaking sequence. So why can't they do the same with Mask? Just do the got a chief. Call up the agents. Get Dusty or Brad and call it good and see the sequence and go. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
I dinged it.
Yeah.
Um, Overall, I'm rounding it up to a 5 because it's a 4.5, but for me it's actually a solid 4.5. I can't do any better. I'm rounding up, but I can't
Okay.
do any better.
We were close. I ended up giving it a 4, solid 4. Um, I felt it had the potential to be great, but just some of the stuff that I pulled out and the ending, I felt it was enough to pull it down at least a point. But it was still a pretty good episode. I liked that Gloria was put in a high profile race, like I mentioned before. Like she was the Danica Patrick of her time. Um, I thought that was good. I thought that they, using a high profile race like that was really good. Um, I liked it when Dagger was firing Torch and that little barrel that comes out of the top, they took the time to put that in there, that right before he fires, that thing pops up and then
Right.
torch on. And I like the mask use in the battles. You don't get a lot of that, where even though Gloria essentially did the same thing both times, where she took their mask fire and deflected it back at them, which I hadn't remembered that Arya could do. I don't remember that she had used that power in previous episodes. I know she might have like disintegrated something, a blast or whatever.
Right, but didn't it use Aura is still kind of a mystery mask.
It is. It's kind of a
There's
catch-all.
times where it's been more like a force field rather
Shield.
than
Yeah.
rebut to attacks. I'll call it.
Yeah. Yeah. So it is kind of a mystery exactly what it does. But I don't know. I like those battles back and forth. I would have liked to seen Matt with Spectrum as well, but we didn't get any Spectrum in this episode. It was just her, and we got Lifter once, and we got Stiletto a bunch of times, and Torch, and then the battles in between. But I thought it was good. What knocked it down for me was the logistics with Rax and Dagger and how long it took them to exit that building.
Yeah.
If they didn't have that setup scene where M.A.S.K is driving through the city and going through all that, and then T-Bob and Scott driving up behind them, they would have been out of that building before they even drove up. So I was like, what are they doing in the building that's taking them so long? It took them fairly quickly to get back to the vault when they first walked in. And it just threw me out of the episode there and kind of threw everything off to me that they were still, when they walked outside, there was M.A.S.K,
Right.
Like you mentioned, there was no call up. I did ding it for that. Where did Dagger go as well? He says right after he gets the flat tire and then he gets magically back in there, driving away, he says he'll meet up with Rax later or something. Well, that didn't make sense at all. Where were they going? Where were they meeting?
Their hideout.
And he just, unless he was trying to draw, Thunderhawk away from Rax since he had the book. Now that would have made sense.
Right.
You go back behind the building, and I'll go this way to take Thunderhawk. Whatever. That would have made more sense than he just disappeared. The plot, I don't know. It was a lot for me to think that one corporation manages all of these banks and stuff, and they have all the combinations in one book. You would think there was some kind of protocol for what if this book gets stolen or something happens, that they would, put something into play,
right,
before whoever stole it could use it.
This is a cartoon. I'm sure they didn't put too much depth into it.
I'm probably reading too much into it, but as a kid, I'm not going to care. But we're reviewing it now, so I'm just telling you what I pulled out of it. And the ending, I mean, I didn't mind I thought this is what I thought was going to happen. They did their little chuckle that they usually do, and then they fade back to the racetrack. I'm like, oh, okay. Like you were saying, I thought this was going to be where Gloria's back in the race and she's heading for the finish line and they end the episode or something. I don't know. To fade back in and just to do another joke, it just, I don't know. I didn't like that.
Yeah, it wasn't.
It just didn't seem necessary to come back. They should have just ended it on their chuckle and like they normally do. But
right.
They had to. I had to come back for some reason. The ticks, there was a few ticks. Why didn't Matt lay into Scott for following them? He didn't even scold him one little bit for.
Not at all.
Why are you here?
Does.
Well, you should have stayed back in the pits. We didn't install these vacuum tubes on T-Bob, you moron. I don't know. I'm getting to the point where I'm like, Matt's a bad parent, or at least he should invoke some discipline more often.
Well, with all the money that Matt has, you'd think he'd, make a better another like T-Bob nanny like the one on the Jetsons
yeah,
or something. Keep tabs on him.
right. Another tick, like you said, the PSA didn't tie in. It was a good message. I didn't take any points off for it, but it could have been something as simple as like seatbelt safety
Oh
or
yeah.
whatever. They took the time to do that shot of Gloria strapping on her seatbelt there at the end anyway.
Yeah,
They
but
could
they
use
might have.
that for the PSA. But I
Well,
don't
they've
know.
already done a seatbelt.
Well, they've repeated before.
That's true. That is
I would
true.
have rather seen a repeat of a seatbelt than something totally out in left field. But there was also, I noticed there was an unnecessary conversion of jackhammer leading up to the corporation there. He
Right.
converted, but he didn't even use the guns for anything.
No, he
I
didn't.
was like, why did he convert there? Didn't make sense. And then, why was Shark even there besides Gloria being on the scene? And not having that call up didn't give you any information. So I was like, she could have just rode shotgun with Matt or Bruce.
Exactly.
And Shark wasn't even used.
Nope.
So other than to pin Rax into that um, yard full of safes where he gets trapped, that was the only time really Shark was used for anything. So I don't know. All of that, I felt it was enough to pull me down a full point, and wishing, and end the episode wishing it had been a sort of a better ending, and instead of just mayhem flying off like a balloon, air coming out of a balloon,
Right.
I don't know. I would have liked a little bit better ending. So, but it was still a pretty good episode, and it still, I think, flowed pretty well through the thing until I was starting to pull little bits and pieces out
Right.
that bothered me. But any script similarities besides, I think, the obvious?
The bickering and the bank heist. That's about all I got.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was on, and we had mentioned that before, that we run some bank heists in our script. So that was really all that I pulled out of that as well. Let's end our review and head over to our poll and some of our comments. We had 16 votes this week. Looks like we tied for 5 and 4, both with 6 votes. We had a vote for a 3 and a vote for a 2 and a couple ones. Yike.
Yeah. Wow.
I wouldn't be that harsh on it. I didn't think it was quite that bad. But one comment we had from Facebook is one of our faithful followers there, Sandy Riller. I made the translation on that, which is actually Portuguese. And her comment was she really misses the cartoon, and it's a shame that they have been through a copyright battle, essentially. I guess she means with maybe the rights and having to, and not showing it on television or anything anymore, and all the DVD battles and stuff that they've had
Right.
over the years. But yeah, we wish the copyrights were a little more secure, I guess you would say. But apparently Hasbro has done their research and are at least claiming they have the movie rights,
Right.
as well as the toy rights. So apparently that's been taken care of, which is a relief, really.
Yeah, it is. Now we know who actually, at least at the moment, has more control of it.
Right. And we had several reviews.
Yeah, we'll start off with Eric from BoulderHill.net. He says, I think this is a generally good episode. It is a little heavy on Scott and T-Bob, but they're not annoying. They usually are doing something stupid when they stumble onto Venom. But in this case, they were trying to do something helpful that wasn't totally unreasonable getting a videotape from the blimp.
Yeah.
It's really cool to see Gloria in her professional setting as a champion race car driver. Danica Patrick, eat your heart out. Uh, I love the banter between Miles and Vanessa and between Sly and Dagger. Bad guy infighting at its best.
Uh-huh.
The music in Mask is always great, but they really used it well in this episode. And finally, the battle at the end was really fun, despite the nonstop one-liners from Matt. And we got lots of mask use: stiletto twice, torch, aura twice, and lifter. I do have a couple nitpicks. First, the arena announcer is basically just Brad Turner, and we all know it. Also, did 1980s race cars really have enough electronics that they would completely melt down from a EMP? I highly doubt it. Sadly, there is no call up, but that did make for a natural group to fight Venom. And for once, Mask is actually outnumbered.
Yeah.
All in all, I think this is a really solid episode that has a great pace. There are a couple little moments that keep it from being perfect. So I've rated it a 4 out of 5. P.S. The PSA had nothing to do with the episode, which is too bad. And one of the firemen looked and sounded almost exactly like Alex Sector. I guess times are rough for veterinarians.
Gotta get a
Quite
little side
possible.
job there. And it was obviously that Sharon Noble did the voice over the radio on the in the fire truck there too.
Yeah. Well, she even
Um,
indicated on our interview if it was a female voice or even an oddball voice. Well,
yeah,
sound really, it was her.
yeah, yeah. So yeah,
Right.
they were the voices were recycled and they auditioned essentially on the spot for whatever voices they needed for that episode. So
And to answer your question, Eric, even in the '80s, they did. I would say probably '87 was about the time frame we really started seeing the electronic fuel injection. So I imagine the race cars probably had something along that lines to be high tech to give them that extra, I don't know, 2 horsepower or whatever to. So there might have been enough electronics to give it this this to give it a plausible plot. Um, as much as I love the '80s and we all think that they were all carburetor engines, about 87, 86, 87, they started actually putting more and more fuel injection in. So yeah,
there
I'm
you
the car
have it.
nut. So there you go.
You are the car expert. Yes.
I'm not an expert by any means.
Well, you know a heck of a lot more than me. But anyway, we'll go
Take
on
this
to
Anna.
yes, we'll go on to Anna. The best part of this episode is seeing Vanessa flying an airship. She seems to be able to operate all types of vessels, like in a later episode when she even flies a spaceship. Yes, the I think that's actually in this
Spoiler alert.
stretch. It's in I think it's number 50. She flies a space shuttle. Um,
Nice.
I that's the one where T-Bob is flying Thunderhawk. That's why I know that one.
Uh,
Anyway, I also got to seeing. I also like seeing Gloria as a race car driver, and that her taking part in a race is used as part of the action in the episode instead of being something she gets interrupted from and has to abandon when she gets called up by M.A.S.K. There is a good battle at the end and some nice usage of the masks, and some of the discussions between Rax and Dagger are quite entertaining. This was an okay episode, but it wasn't perfect. Among other things, I found some of T-Bob's comments when he was hanging from and falling from the blimp quite annoying, and therefore I gave it a 4. So they're both kind of lining up with
with
my
you.
review. Let's see what I believe this is Eric from Cartoonopolis, had to say.
This episode was just kind of boring. And as usual, it had way too much Scott and T-Bob. I honestly did not care what happened to them at all. The fight at the end was okay, but really felt lacking with the absence of Switchblade and Manta. I really loved Rax's line, "I hate them," especially since he said it with such hostility right after Bruce's dumb pun. I
Yeah,
feel you. I feel your pain, Max or Rax. Sorry. So he's probably one of the lower raters.
Yeah. Yeah, there was an excessive amount of puns and jokes, and like I said before, there was a point where I was like, just shut up, T-Bob. But it wasn't just him. It was a lot of other people as well,
Right.
which is pretty well expected
Right.
in
And then we have
Mask.
one final question. It's actually not related to the episode.
Okay.
From Philip Gibson. He's on our Q&A.
Okay.
He's asking about the Paramount announcement where we have
Uh-huh.
his question is, what do you think of M.A.S.K being a part of the new Paramount Hasbro cinematic universe that's being planned? Well, we really discussed at length in our MASKast chat, and we could probably chat at length here. But I'll be honest, I'm going to steer you towards that MASKast chat because we we really got into depth about the possibilities of it, and you could even get a smaller synopsis if you don't want to listen to the 2.5 hour or whatever it was.
It
And you
wasn't
can
that
get
long.
a kind of a better synopsis if you listen to the Recurrent Events podcast that Jason and I and Eric, who was kind of the same team of
Yeah.
agents.
Just worked
Uh,
out that last week.
yeah, and we just did that here Friday, which would have been the December 18th edition. So
And
I
we kind of
I steer you over that way, to be
yeah.
honest.
And we kind of steered people actually towards the MASKast in that
That's
as well.
true.
Because we talked obviously mostly about Mask, but how they fit in, how some of the other properties like Visionaries and the other ones were Micronauts and ROM, which we essentially didn't have too much experience with. But
Right.
like we mentioned before in earlier in this podcast, I think we really think it's going to happen one of two ways. We would all love to see, I think, the standalone movie first and have maybe a couple GI Joe cameos or characters in there helping out. They could even use, I think I suggested at one point, some kind of transformer allspark technology or something to work with the Mask vehicles and how they transform and such. So there's a lot of elements that you could add in from the other properties and still do a standalone Mask movie, I think. But if it comes out and if it's just one, if it's GI Joe 3 and they include maybe Matt Tracker in there and then spin it off that way, I would be okay with that. The fact that we're getting Mask in a movie,
Right.
hopefully more than just a cameo or just a name on a door, or you know, more than just a glimpse. I really want for them to go in depth with it, and obviously, that's for selfish reasons and
Of
wanting more
course.
toys and wanting a full Mask comeback. But we discussed too, and I guess I'll end on this so we don't go too much into it. But going into the movie universe is more of a safe route, I think, and it's an easy way to make their big bucks rather than going into a TV series or something like that. And you can really use a lot of characters that way.
Right.
And I think Eric made that point on Recurrent Events too, where we would be happy if they just went into a television series with some of these properties and used some elements of the other properties in that way. It'd be a lot easier to do, but you
Right.
don't make hundreds of millions off of cartoon series, really, unless they're running, hundreds of episodes.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, there's several different ways. Obviously, we think it's exciting. We were really excited. We wanted to jump on the air as quick as possible. I know I did. And even Bill Ferris over at Matt Tracker, he did a little 2 or 3 minute video and he put up on YouTube of his reaction
Right.
soon after. I actually am the one of us of the 3 main sites that saw it first, and I shared with them as soon as I found it. and we were all really excited. So I guess just hang out with us, and when we get more information in our feeds and everything, and we'll be sure to pass it along, and keep your fingers crossed. We'll probably do another chat once we get more information and see where Hasbro is actually going to go with this, but it is very exciting.
Yes, it is.
So I guess, well, since we have no more questions, we read all of our comments, we'll go ahead and end our podcast for now. Our next podcast review will be episode 42, The Artemis Enigma, where Venom plans to steal a sacred horn from a group of monks that is rumored to detect gold. So we will go after those wonderful artifacts again and try to find some lost treasure, as we've done many a time before. But I also wanted to end real quick too by taking a minute for our viewers, listeners this week to, if you listen to the podcast version, just give us a quick star rating if you're in iTunes or if you're in Stitcher. And if you're so inclined, make a little short comment review, because it does help when people go into those apps and do searches and such. The more comments and the more feedback we have and the higher ratings we can get the podcast out there to people who haven't listened to us yet, even though we've been on the air for going on.
I think almost 5 years now.
I think it was in February of 2012 when we started. So we're coming up on 4 years. Kind of unbelievable.
Yeah.
That, if you guys would do that for us, we would be most grateful that listen to this podcast and would help us out trying to spread the word about MASKast and get some more Mask fans on board, agents, I'll call them. I did notice this week, Wyatt, I don't think I told you that we're up to 200 people on our email list. So, and we owe them a newsletter, that's for sure.
Dang sure. I think we're like 3 or 4 months behind, and I know I offered to take up that one, but man, my new job, everything's so restricted.
Yeah,
it bugs me because of that.
Well, I think I put one out in October and we missed November, so I think we're only a month behind. But we'll try to get another newsletter out when we get our next MASKast assignment out, and I do try to email once in a while if there's a code out to use at Redbubble or something special like that. I will email just separately. So if you want to get on that email list, just go to agentsofmask.com, and there's in the left column there in the top, there's a join button. You click that and you go to our little form to fill that out, or you can actually do that right through Facebook as well. There's a email newsletter tab right under our cover photo, and you can sign up there. But like I said, we try to do a monthly newsletter, which is just basically information over the past month in case you missed it kind of stuff. And we try to share some of the other content from other sites and just stuff like that we've come across since the last newsletter to keep everybody up to date in the mask world. And it's fun to put together, and there's a lot of good stuff usually in there for everyone to go through. So anyway, it's always a blast, partner, as you say, to do these reviews, and I'm really looking forward to this stretch. And we got a pretty good one this time, and hopefully the trend will continue.
I hope so. It has to go upward because, like I said in the review, I don't know how we're going to be able to top being able to get really 3 voice actor interviews. On top of being able to personally, like in person, see and meet Doug Stone. So, like I said, it's going to be a challenge to really top this we'll call it series.
Yeah, we'll see what 2016 holds.
Who knows? Maybe they'll have a reunion up at RetroCon, and I think you'll be flying up again for that one.
Yes, if I knew everybody was going to be there, yes, I'd be booking my ticket next week. if the wife would agree, but
Well, there's your assignment, Tony, and your wife. Forgive me, I can't remember her name right now, but that's your assignment. Get all of MASKast, Mask. I'm sorry,
yeah.
Mask voice actors there. So, but yeah, this has been an awesome time, and uh, like I said, we're still kind of beaming on 2015, and even the news, even though it's a whisper, we'll call it, from Hasbro, is still something. So they're teasing us. We just don't know what they're going to give us, but something's better than nothing. So we're all excited and kind of just on the edge of our seat, virtually or literally, trying to figure out what's going to happen. So anyway, well, I want to thank you all for watching and listening, and we will see you next time on MASKast.
And a quick shout to we did have a couple viewers pop in the recording session here, so thank you guys. I think obviously Philip was one. I don't know if
Right.
Vaughn usually pops in as well, but we appreciate you guys watching our little recording sessions.
Right.
And
Thank you.
One of the commenters to the Yoda Tube or Yoda Tube. He always comments that he watches and always has a little comment to put up there on YouTube. Appreciate you watching, and we will see you guys again.
Later.
Merry Christmas.
Yes.